Mic check 1 2. So for those of you who are following or have been following my collecting journey, you'll know that I sold off my collection at the end of last year as a part of a move to the other side of the country. And if you are a collector, you know that one of the hardest parts about rebuilding your collection is finding the rare games again. You know, when that's the part of your collection that hurts the most, is when you have to let go of the rare and expensive stuff, because your mind immediately tells you, man, the only way I'm going to be able to find these games again is if I go on eBay. Well, in this video, I want to show you 10 rare and expensive games that I did not have to go to the internet to find. And so we're going to kind of go through some of these. The first four are going to be games that I had in my previous collection, but then the following six are going to be games that I did not have in my old collection at all. So yeah, this should be a fun one. So the first one that we have here is Popful Mail. And Popful Mail is one of the more rare and expensive games I have in my collection. This is an action RPG for obviously the Sega CD. This is a game that is typically goes for above 500, especially when it's in good condition. This one is complete, has the registration card, is in really great shape. And I picked this up from a Facebook marketplace deal from a gentleman who was selling his Sega CD collection. So I got this along with a bunch of other really awesome Sega CD games, and there's video of that on my channel when I actually met up with that gentleman rather, and we made the transaction happen. So this was a really cool find. I wasn't sure if I was gonna have to resort to eBay for this game. When I originally got it in my first collection, I got it via a trade. So I was really happy to be able to get this underpriced as well. Got a really good deal on it. Spent less on it the second time around than I did the first time around. So I was really glad to pick up this copy. The next game that I had in my original collection is Silent Bomber. Now, Silent Bomber is an action-based adventure game. It feels like a little bit open world, but it is kind of somewhat linear. Think Bomberman meets Metal Gear Solid meets, I don't know. Graphics on this game are really awesome though for the PlayStation 1. It has a really cool, just like open feel. The boss battles are really great. And I really like this game. But Silent Bomber is one of the more rare games on the PlayStation 1, and it was definitely one that I was worried about not being able to find again. Silent Bomber was probably top 5 rarest PlayStation 1 games I had in my collection. And even though it's not one of the most expensive PlayStation 1 games, it is pretty expensive. Right now, I think Silent Bomber can go anywhere between $210 and $240, depending on where you find it and if it's in good condition. There are a lot of reproduction copies out there. The reproductions are growing. So even though this manual isn't in the best of condition, the disc is awesome and the game works. And I was stoked to find this. I found this game in a mom and pop game shop. I walked into the game shop, they had it, and as soon as I saw that they had it, I immediately grabbed it. Primarily because I did look for this one on eBay, and when I looked, I did not find any North American copies. So once I saw it live in person, I was like, oh shoot, I gotta get this. So Silent Bomber is definitely one that I'm glad I didn't have to turn to eBay for. Next up, we have Cannon Spike on the Dreamcast. Cannon Spike, roughly a $300 game. This one was pretty simple. I found this at a Pay More earlier in the year, and I traded in a bunch of just kind of filler titles, stuff that I really wasn't going to be playing, and traded all that stuff in and got enough credit to pick up this copy of Cannon Spike. This was, again, another one that I had in my original collection. I'm glad I didn't have to break the bank to get this one back. And the last game that I had in my original collection that I got back, last but not least, is Spike Out Battle Street, one of the rarest Xbox games out there. I think I've only seen this game maybe twice in all of my years of game hunting and collecting. This one was really good to get back. Spike Out Battle Street is roughly a $210, $220 game. This was one that I traded for at a mom and pop shop. Again, brought in some games that I wasn't going to be playing. Brought in a bunch of free stuff that I got during like buy two get one free promotions and stuff, or 4 under 10 for 20s. Took advantage and picked up this really clean copy of Spike Out Battle Street, so was glad to add this one back. Now let's take a look at some new rare games that were added to my collection. First of all being Bomberman 64. Now, this was a game that I picked up during a collection buyout. So, made a couple friends out here, and there was a gentleman who was selling portions of his collection, and I just kept buying portions of his collection piece by piece. And in that pickup, he threw me this copy of Bomberman 64: The Second Attack. Bomberman 64: The Second Attack is roughly like a $350 to $370 game loose. I don't even want to know what this game goes for complete in box, but this is one of the more expensive N64 games, definitely on the more rare side. But this is fun. This isn't just one of those N64 games that's just rare and expensive for no reason. This is actually a very fun Bomberman game. Like many of the rare and expensive Bomberman games are, they're a lot of fun to play with a group of people. And this was one that I was really glad. I almost like couldn't stop playing it once I popped it in to test it. This is a very cool game. So glad that I didn't have to get it online, and I didn't even know what I was missing. And I got it for 60% of the value. So this was a really good deal. Next up, we have Castlevania Legends on the original Game Boy. Now, I've had a couple of the Castlevania games in my collection in the past. I had the original Castlevania, and then I think I also had Belmont's Curse, but I never had Legends. And when I first moved out here to the West Coast, this was one of the first games that I found at a GameStop. Believe it or not, I had walked into a GameStop, I don't know, it must have been fate, and they had this just chilling in the drawer, and it was original, it was authentic, and the label was in great shape. And so I went ahead and snagged this up. I think they had this for like 79 or 89 bucks, which for those of you who know, Castlevania Legends is like $150 to $170 game loose on the original Game Boy. This is one of the most rare Castlevania games out there. And this was just one that I was stoked to find. I never had it in my old collection, and I was happy to add it to the new one. So this is a new addition to the collection. Speaking of Castlevania, we've added Castlevania Dracula X. This is actually a recent addition to the collection. For those of you who know, Castlevania Dracula X loose is somewhere around $330 to $360. It ranges depending on condition and stuff. But for the sake of this video, let's just say it's a $350 game loose. This is a very fun Castlevania game. Now, this game gets a lot of flack because unlike Super Castlevania 4, you can't wield your whip in any direction. It's not like a multi-directional wielding. You can only wield it from left to right, I think. I can't remember if you can wield it up, but it's not as dexterous as the Super Castlevania 4 version of this series. But I think the graphics, the music, just the scenery just makes up for a lot of that. And this one is really, really rare. This one I did trade for at a mom and pop shop, was really glad that I didn't have to come out of pocket. Again, traded a bunch of like 4 under 40 stuff, buy 2 get 1 free stuff, and pretty much got this for a really good deal, like really good deal. This is not one that I would ever buy straight out of pocket, so I'm glad I was able to add it without having to necessarily pay for it. Okay, we have another GameStop banger here. Let's just do these two at the same time. So I bought both of these games at the same time from GameStop. Again, this happened when I first moved out here. For those of you who follow the channel, you'll probably remember when I picked these games up and I walked into a GameStop and someone had just traded in their entire NES collection. And these were just 2 of the many bangers that I picked up that day. I mean, everything from Snow Brothers to DuckTales 2 to Rescue Rangers 2. I mean, the list goes on and on. So many rare NES games. Even though they were all loose, they were all pretty rare. And Gun Knack itself goes for over $300. Kickmaster is like a $170 game. Both are a ton of fun. If you like shoot 'em ups and if you like side-scrolling beat 'em ups, this is like almost like the creme de la creme for the NES. These are really great games, and was super glad to find these. I didn't know what I was missing. Picked both of these up, I think for 99 bucks a piece at the time, plus like discounts, pro member discounts, and any coupons that I used. But these were some solid pickups, so was really glad to have these in the collection. And last but not least, we referenced this character before, but we're gonna come back to him again, and this is Saturn Bomberman. Now, this one is probably one that will forever stay in my collection because right after I had sold all of my video games and right before leaving the East Coast, I had jumped on Facebook Marketplace and saw that there was a gentleman who was selling this mint condition copy of Bomberman. and I grabbed it. I don't know why. It was the only game that I had in my collection for quite some time, but I went ahead and grabbed it. And I didn't even have a Sega Saturn yet. And I grabbed it and I took it with me to the West Coast. And this is the only East Coast transplant video game that I have in my collection. This was the last game that I purchased in New York before moving to Southern California. And so even though it was with me in New York, it is new to the new collection. This is the game that actually kicked off the Y2K Collection 2.0. So this was one that I was glad to add back. And so this was, like I said, a really good Facebook Marketplace deal. Bomberman, I think Saturn Bomberman goes for anywhere between, I've seen this game go for like 650, 700 bucks on eBay. You know, probably the floor for this game might be like 550 to 600. But this is a pretty expensive Saturn game. And it is one of the most rare Sega Saturn games out there. And so all that being said, just showing you guys this just so that you can see that you do not have to resort to eBay. With a little bit of sweat equity, putting in a little bit of foot effort and some sweat effort, you can definitely find some rare gems out there in the wild. Everywhere from GameStop to Facebook Marketplace to your local mom and pop shops, there's definitely ways of adding rare stuff to your collection. Let me know what rare games you've picked up, and hopefully you stick with me for the rebuild. That does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. You guys take it easy.